Okay. My name is Brandon Neal Jones, and today is the 1st of September 2015, and we are here in the home of Larry and Kayo Jones to interview them for the Spotlighting Oklahoma excuse me, Oral History Series of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. Today we will be discussing the Sister Cities international relationship going on 30 years now between Stillwater, Oklahoma and Kameoka, Japan, and the exemplary role that the Joneses have fulfilled for their communities. Thank you for agreeing to participate in this research project. I think the best place to start is right at the beginning. We can't ever have enough history about where this all began.
Okay.
Mr. Jones.
Well, it all began in 1985, spring of 1985, when the state of Oklahoma and Kyoto Prefecture entered into a sister state relationship. Soon after that relationship became a reality, officials in the city of Kameoka went to prefectural offices in the capital city of Kyoto, said that they would like to establish a sister city relationship with a city in Oklahoma, and provided some information about their city. They said that they were about an hour by train from the capital, that there was a university in their city, and that a significant part of their economy was agricultural based. And there was some other information, but those are the things that come to mind. The people in Oklahoma City looked at that and said they thought that Stillwater would be a perfect fit. And so they contacted City Hall in Stillwater, asked if there was an interest in forming that relationship. People here said yes, they would be very interested.
So that came from the state of Oklahoma.
Yes.
Requested. Okay.
Right. Soon after that, a delegation from Kameoka came to Stillwater to look at our city. And in the fall of 1985, a delegation from Stillwater went to Kameoka to continue to have that discussion. And while they were there, on November the 3rd, 1985, signed the paperwork that established the sister city relationship. So that was the start of it.
That was between Mayor Calvin Anthony and
Mayor Yoshihisa Taniguchi.
Yoshihisa Taniguchi.
Yes. Kameoka has been in existence for centuries, no doubt, but as an incorporated city, it's celebrating its 60th birthday this year, in November of this year. It was incorporated in 1955. Prior to that, there was the town of Kameoka, which was a small town, and 15 small villages in the mountains around that town. The national government sort of forced them to establish an incorporated larger city, since Kameoka was the largest of the 15 towns and villages involved. It became the name of the largest city.
Okay.
At that time, had a population of about 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Today, its population is nearly 100,000, so it's grown significantly in those 60 years. As you know, Brendan, the Hosu River runs through the center of Kameoka, dividing the city. It has a lot of historical places. The remains of an old castle was built there to guard the northwest entrance to the city of Kameoka in the early 1600s, so it was there for a long time. There's old temples and shrines that go back more than 1,000 years. Izumo Shrine goes back to the early 700s.
Mm-hmm.
An Oji Temple to about that time. So there's a lot of history associated with our sister city. So we're very fortunate to have such a relationship.
Yeah. And let's see here. So in 1985, we have two cities that we've got an agricultural connection, we've got the university connection, we've got a similar distance from the capital as a connection. Where did the because from what I understand, Sister Cities International is very much about citizen diplomacy. So where did that start to blossom? Where did the politics or the political side kind of step out of it, and where did the citizens, when did that start to grow?
From very early on.
It did.
Some sister cities are established so that a city in this country, for instance, forms a relationship with a city in Africa that is very poor.
Okay.
And so it's that sister city relationship is primarily established to benefit, to help the people in Africa.
Okay.
They may need water. Many cities in this country with a relationship in Africa have gone and drilled water wells, or they've taken medical supplies or other things to help those cities economically, to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the larger city relationships, for example, Tulsa has a very active economic relationship with some of its sister cities because they just have a lot more industry in their cities. Stillwater and Kameoka, neither of us are poor, neither of us are terribly affluent, but both are, middle class kind of communities. Mm-hmm. So that from the very beginning, we recognized that our primary relationship would involve one-on-one diplomacy, educational exchanges, art exchanges, these kinds of things, where we could both appreciate the culture and customs of the other.
And where did you get your start? Where did you and Kayo get your start with the sister cities?
Okay. There was an article in the newspaper.
Okay.
Just after the paperwork was signed in Kameoka.
Okay.
When that delegation returned, they put an article in the newspaper, said we have established a sister city relationship, but City Hall cannot do it by themselves. We need volunteers. Anyone that might be interested in being a part of that. They had a meeting at the old armory. I attended that meeting and made a few comments. Sylvia was there, made some comments, and when the meeting finished, I thought, I'm not sure that I can contribute significantly to this, so I was prepared to leave and let them move ahead with their relationship. I can thank the former city manager, Carl Wynot, that came up to me at the end of that and said, we're going to have a meeting at City Hall to establish a group, which became the Cities Council. Why don't you attend that? And I thought, well, if he sees that I might contribute something, I'll attend their meeting at least. Well, there were 9 in attendance, including myself. We, by the end of that meeting, had formed a group, which we called the Sister City Council. And so those 9 people were the beginning of our Sister Cities program.
Now, some of those people, that would have been Sylvia Dungan, and you, and are there any others that are currently still on the, just the two of you?
We're the only 2 that were there at that initial meeting.
At the initial meeting, okay. And Cindy Petrie was an early member, but not at that original.
Not at that original.
Okay.
We call them charter members.
After school, sister.
Okay.
School
And now, maybe we should back up even just a little bit further. because you have a connection with Japan prior to the Sister Cities Council. So
And that connection is why I went to that first
is
meeting.
why you went. So let's talk about that a little bit so that we understand kind of how, how that developed. How did you two meet? You told me a little bit about it was in Otsu.
Yes, I was working at the Camp Otsu, military base.
Okay.
And Japanese employee is work there. Of course, they have to have payroll accounting. I was part-time payroll accounting there, and before payday come, I used to work there, and I met him there. Not only him, but a lot of people there.
At Camp Otsu, there was two. It was divided into two bases, posts.
Okay.
She worked at what was called A camp. I worked at B camp in communications, the signal corps. When she would finish in the afternoon, she would go out and either catch a bus or a train back to Kyoto to her parents' home.
Okay.
I would, on Camp A camp was the bigger camp. That's where the PX and the theater and the restaurant and the like. So I would frequently go to A camp and go out to catch a bus back to B camp.
Okay.
And I saw her, and she caught my eye.
And
And so we began to talk, and I found out where she worked. And fairly often I would have to take radio teletype messages from where I was working to A camp, to someone there at A camp. And so I began to sort of make a habit of detouring through her building as this relationship grew.
What year is this?
1956 and 57.
57.
1957. Okay, so this would have been 30 years before the beginning of Sister Cities. And now we're coming up on before Sister Cities, and now we're coming up on 30 years after. Okay, and so you all met there at the military base in Otsu, which is not.
He want to go to Kyoto to see garden. He loved garden and shrine or temple.
The first time I asked her for a date, my thinking was that we would go to dinner and then go to a movie. She said, why don't we go visit a garden? And I thought, well, that's really not what I had in mind. But I don't want to ruin this relationship. So I said, sure, that's fine. We went to Heian Shrine, and I was just enamored with the beauty of the place. And I have loved those Japanese gardens since then.
In Kyoto?
Yes.
Is that the gold, the silver, or neither? That's another one. Okay.
Another many there.
Okay. There was many that we saw while we were there, and they're gorgeous.
They say that you can visit something of significance, a temple, a shrine, a garden, a museum, a castle, every day for 5 years in Kyoto, and never visit the same place twice. So there's a lot to see in the historic old city.
Believe it. So, okay, so that's a previous connection that has grown and developed, and then we find in 1985, November 3rd, Mayor Anthony and Mayor Taniguchi sign a proclamation declaring the Sister Cities relationship. In that next year, we have the first Sister Cities Council. And then let's talk about maybe one of your first exchanges, or one of your first, what was one of your first exciting memories? One of your first, moments when you really realized that, because you've been a part of this for 30 years now. There had to be a moment where you were, I am going to enjoy this. I'm going to have fun doing this. What was that moment? Or
Well, it was it was very, very early on. It almost immediately.
Okay.
But the following year, the following November, a large delegation came from Kameoka to Stillwater to celebrate the first anniversary of our sister city's relationship. We were very, very involved in that. Didn't know how much we would be involved over the years at that time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's continued from that time. And during that time, the delegation visited OSU and were taken on a tour of the campus. One of the places they went was the English Language Institute, ELI. And while they were there, Mayor Taniguchi asked if it might be possible for OSU to establish an English language program in Kameoka. Well, that conversation continued, but it grew as the conversations continued, and eventually became a full-fledged campus. What later became known, when it was established, became known as OSU Kyoto.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, it's generally referred to as OSU-K, and most people assume that stands for Kameoka, but it actually stands for Kyoto, to signify the significance that it's a state university here, and so they treated it as a prefectural university there by designating it as OSU Kyoto or OSU-K. Early on, when I heard that was going to happen, I hoped with all my being that I might be a part of it, and became a part of it. And Kayo and I spent 2 years on the OSU-K campus, which is less than an hour from where she lived the first 22 years of her life. So it was a marvelous opportunity.
And you went over. Now when did they establish OSU-K?
Well, the conversation started in 1986, but it didn't evolve into a university until 1990.
Okay.
In late August of 1990, a group of 153 students from Japan came to Stillwater to study English. The model for the program was a 5-year model, 1 year of English language instruction here in Stillwater, and then they would return to Japan for the freshman and sophomore level general education classes, then return to Stillwater for the junior and senior level classes in the major area of their choice.
And you were there for 2 years?
Yes.
With that program, and let me think. Now, you've also been writing the Kameoka corner for the Stillwater News Press. How long have you been working on that project? Has that been going on since?
For more than 20 years.
Okay.
I wrote articles, very short articles, prior to going to Kameoka in 1990. I did that for a couple of years. And then started again in 1994 and have done it continuously since 1994.
And Kayo.
Yes.
How do you find yourself being involved in this project?
This one I'm not sister city council, but I am helping sister school, middle school, to go translate. Mr. Neal, John Neal, he used to be a principal there.
Okay.
And of course, we have 3 boys, 2 of middle school. I mean, 2 of them, not middle school, but they are Mr. Neal's care. Well,
With Mr. Mills?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do all, kids get from there to here, they get homesick that age.
Yeah.
So they call me, Kayo, what's wrong with, this kid have temperature and all this. most time is jet lag. If you rest and drink a lot of water and rest, I bring it here to rest, let them sleep. And 2-3 hours later, new people. So I, sound like you're okay. So I called school to,
Okay.
she's all right. And the delegation from there, I'm still helping food to need to be taken care of. So most time, Larry and I of course, the city help too, but most time I am doing behind, and they know.
You're working the behind the scenes, making that wonderful sukiyaki dinner.
Oh, did you?
Okay.
Yes, I got to eat.
Well, that's too many. 3 people want so.
Kayo's been almost like a mother to a
Yeah.
lot of the students
Yes,
from
I
Japan.
have some parents say, thank you for taking care of my daughter or son. And, just writing for Japanese too. So I hung up there and I visited school there, how they do here in America. So I go to there to
So
tell them.
you provide a little bit of a home away from home.
Yes, I'm volunteer.
Nice.
Strictly volunteer. I still doing for the college student OSU. And they are short time to stay, but it's sad day always because they are leaving quickly. But I invite them at least once to American home, because the Japanese are so small. Land is small, so anyway, I just want to do not only Japanese student. I have some Chinese, Korean,
What?
lots of. They speak different, but we speak one English.
Yeah. So we have a pretty healthy exchange program here in Stillwater. With is it middle school only or?
Middle school only one middle school
That
here.
is primary.
Oh,
Primary,
there are
yeah.
Primary
five.
middle school.
Okay.
From time to time, there'll be a Wings of Rotary exchange student from Japan at the high school.
Okay.
There's an exchange student there this year.
I did get
There
to
was
meet
a-
at briefly at the. yeah.
beach party the other
Mhm.
night. And
So-
when those come,
People are wonderful. I mean,
some of
when
those,
you try to help,
Mhm.
they know, they didn't tell me thank you now, but later on, oh, that was Mrs. Jones. Even OSUK student from Japan, father was OSU, not OSUK, because long ago he was here. Their son came to the OSUK, and the entrance day we have a Kyoto, is that right?
Mhm.
And man looks like gray hair. I am gray too, but he was more white here.
Mhm.
He keep looking at me, so I just looked down. I was thinking, but I don't know him. But when I looking at, he's still looking at. After finish, he come to hurry to get me, so I move away to go home. So anyway, are you Kayo Jones? Yes. Who you? I said, I'm a Mr. Kitagawa. I used to be OSU student. I come to your house. You prepare Japanese food. I never forget, he said. This time, my son, this one, gonna be OSUK. So when he come, will you take care of it? I sure will, at least once. Everybody been here, most people.
Well,
So,
that's very nice. And you wouldn't have stories like that, would
yes,
you? if-
it's a wonderful feeling when he first, I don't know I can do or not. I thought, but I can do. Of course, he helped too, and we have 3 boys, but they never complain. Always somebody here.
Mhm.
But our boys are, maybe God put us that way to raise them, but they never complain. Well, he he doesn't complain, but he doesn't have to do cooking, so, but anyway.
Many students have come and with the Japanese food that they can eat, with the Japanese host, with the Japanese room, they say, I really feel comfortable in your home. Please invite me back. And we...
Some want to come back and come back. You know.
That first year, the 153 students that were here for a year, virtually every one of them had a meal in our home. And through the years, you know, at the pizza party, there were about 12 students, OSU students from Japan. She already has all of their names and telephone numbers.
I did, but they written down
here.
in Japan the telephone number. I don't mean the Indon number I want, so I can call them. How can I contact? So I talked to Stephanie to, would you please tell Tim have to, you know, write telephone number each kid, you know, so
for the U.S.
That's right. So.
Let me take a quick look here. So we have that first delegation that came, the large delegation that came to celebrate the 1-year anniversary. And then, did we do a 5-year anniversary?
We did. Delegation from there came here, and delegation from here went there.
And was that the trilateral, or was that later? That
was later.
That was later.
After the 5th anniversary.
That was after. Okay.
Between the 5th and 10th, I don't remember the exact time.
And we went 10 years too.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about that 5th anniversary? Or did you go to Kameoka on that one?
Yes.
Okay.
We went for the 5th anniversary. We went for the 10th anniversary. For the 15th anniversary.
Let's talk about
if there's a delegation going,
you're there. Okay.
we try to go. And
there was something that Sylvia mentioned. She mentioned a wedding. There was a koan. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Wedding food.
No, not koan. That's the garden. A ryokan. That you all would stay at a ryokan that had a beautiful white wedding kimono in the lobby. Does this ring a bell at all? Let's see.
When we went there, Sylvia went
she
once,
said,
didn't she?
I'm not sure which time this was, and I'm not sure which. Let's see. She made the comment though about how the ryokan owner, how he was letting them try on this gorgeous white wedding kimono that they probably should not have been wearing.
okay, there was a couple in Kameoka that had a company that made
That's right.
the silk brocade that was used to make
company we did.
Okay.
wedding kimonos. I remember that most of the women tried one of those on.
Tried those on?
Yes.
Okay.
That was in Kameoka.
Well, tell me about your trips over there with the delegations. Just kind of, you know, what did you experience? What did you enjoy? You know.
Always wonderful treatment. We're able to experience their culture and their customs and their kindness. Enjoyed the beauty of the old city. Just every one of the visits that we've made to Kameoka have been special. We visited elementary schools several times, had meals in the elementary schools. The children would sit and, you know, we tried to carry on a conversation. Just so many wonderful experiences. The 2 years that we spent in Kameoka with the OOHRP program, near the end of that, the Rotary Club, president of the Rotary Club asked me if I would speak to the Rotary Club about our experiences in Kameoka during the 2 years that we were there. And perhaps the only thing that's worthy of remembering, I said to them, the thing that has impressed me most about my stay in Japan these 2 years is the kindness that I've observed. So not the kindness shown to me. You know, as a foreign tourist, I expected that I would be treated very well. What I'm speaking of is the kindness that you show one to another. I mean, just every day. Their vocabulary is just structured such that as they speak to one another, it's in a very kind and thoughtful way. And that's, you know, I've just always been amazed at their kindness to one another as well as to foreign tourists visiting their country.
And how was your time over there, Kayo? Did you enjoy being close to family?
In Japan is my birthplace.
Mm-hmm.
In Kyoto. And sure, every time I go home, I let my mother know first. And mother called my classmate, you know, is coming. So would you give her call to this number? That's her number. Anyway, this is the OOHRP. I was working there at the library for students. But classmates have a reunion, you know, classmates all junior high, high school, classmates, and they call each other and they come in. So address is only my address is the American way, 319 North Donaldson, but all other is Japanese. Writing for the Japanese, got married to Japanese. Of course, the boys would think, why don't you come home, you know? Well, I have a son, 3 boys, and the grandchildren there. That is my husband there. I had to be there, you know. I like to be there. But it's nice to come home.
Yeah.
They are so warm. I mean, I haven't seen them long time. And hug each other. That's where I learned now hugging, you know, strange people. I mean, it's not strange, but a classmate long ago. But they hug me too. And they welcome home and stay longer, you know.
So you all were able to get together for those 2 years that you were there in OSU?
I called my mother.
Several times when we've gone back. You know, the Japanese are amazingly good at networking. They, you know, what she's talking about goes back 50 years to when she was in elementary or junior high school. And they still are in contact. Most of them still live very close to where they were born.
A lot of people
so they get together when they find out she's coming. They plan to get together and have a meal and have a fellowship together. It's pretty amazing.
And when you were over there, what was your position with OOHRP? What were you doing over there?
I was the associate director and taught physics.
You were teaching physics and the associate director, and did I catch you were working at the
library?
At the library,
I was there. Did you go Kameoka?
I did get there, but I did not get to OOHRP or the building that
where
used to
his
be.
office was, and I was working at Old Central, just
and
like the OSU.
The copy of Old Central.
That building, I was there, you know, library there, and.
It's an amazing likeness.
It's beautiful.
I've seen some photos of it, but I did not get to see it myself, and I regret that.
You must have went to there to ask them. I'm from Stillwater. You know.
Well.
They like to have Stillwater people.
I'll tell you more about that here in just a little bit.
Okay.
Trying to think. So we've got, this is 1992 about, that you were coming back to the U.S.?
93.
93. You're coming back to the U.S.? So then you would be coming up on the 10th anniversary then of the sister city shortly thereafter that. Did we have a delegation come here? Did you go back to Kameoka, or did we both?
They had a delegation come here,
Yeah.
delegation from here went there.
Okay. And what did you have some what were some of the main activities involved with that? A 10-year anniversary, that was probably a pretty big
I
celebration.
have one picture in the
It was,
Sukiyaki. I was going to show
At that time, they had just completed a new city hall
It's
shortly. before
Stillwater or Kameoka?
Kameoka.
Kameoka, okay.
Beautiful building there.
It's no doubt the envy of every city in Kyoto Prefecture. A beautiful 9 or 10-story city hall
Mm-hmm.
that, when it was completed, was completely paid for, debt-free. So they managed their funds extremely well. It's very, very impressive. Every time we go, we ride the OOHRP Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a while. I don't remember all the exact things that we did at that time.
They
but,
had big
Would-
reception.
Would that have been the time when did they bring over the materials for the garden?
Soon thereafter, it was
Was that about that time?
1996 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was
Yes.
right after the 10th anniversary. And do you want to tell me a little bit about what they did? Because that was quite a gift from
It
Kameoka.
was indeed. Yes, the first time we went to Kameoka after the sister city relationship was formed,
Mm-hmm.
was in 1987. Kayo and I and the McKinleys, who were friends, visited Japan, went to Kameoka, and something was said about Japanese gardens, and I said I liked them a lot. They rounded up one of the staff members at City Hall. We sat down and talked about Japanese gardens, and he gave me a set of plans. Says take these back to Stillwater in case there's anyone interested. If the city's interested in building a garden. Well, we talked about that every time we'd have a monthly meeting. My contribution was let's build a garden. That didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but when we went in 1995 for the 10th anniversary, they said there is a group of Japanese landscape gardeners here that are discussing the possibility of building a garden in Japan, or I'm sorry, in Stillwater. You'll be hearing from them. Not too long after we returned, we heard from them. They intended to do that. In the summer of, I'm sure it was 1996, a small group of the gardeners came and we looked at several sites in Stillwater as possible sites for a garden. The site just north of the community center where the garden is was actually the second choice, but it has worked out very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
They made arrangements to rent heavy equipment or machinery to that would be needed in the construction, a big crane, bobcat, and other equipment. We went to Oklahoma City and we went to a rock place. They picked out some rocks, said we would like to use these rocks in a smaller garden at OSU out at the Botanic Garden. I spoke to the manager, the owner of the rock collection, whatever it's called. Told him that they would like to buy these rocks, but they wouldn't be back until September. I thought he'd say, well, you come back in September and we'll talk about this. He said, we'll set them aside, and whenever they're ready for them, they can come and pick them up. We went to a nursery on North Perkins Road, which was there at that time. They picked out over $5,000 worth of plants, trees, topsoil, fertilizer. Said, we want you to set this aside, we'll be back in September. I thought they would respond the same. They said, we'll set them aside, and when you're ready for them, come and get them. We called a company in Ponca City about a big crane that they would need to move heavy rocks and lanterns. They just, we'll set it aside for you. Said, you don't just get the crane, we won't rent the crane without an operator. So we told them what day we wanted them to bring the crane. Before they came, they shipped over 20 tons of material from Japan, paid for entirely by the city of Kameoka, volunteer gifts from citizens of Kameoka, donated money, and the gardeners donated their money in time. They said, we will be there on a certain day, and there's 2 shipping containers that will arrive on the morning of that day. But you're putting a lot of confidence in this shipment. The morning that they said they would be there, those 2 shipping containers showed up. The crane showed up with the operator. It was just amazing. You know, those gardeners all came from Kameoka, and on a daily basis they were competing with one another for business in Kameoka. But while they were here, they worked together like a well-oiled machine.
Huh.
I mean, every morning they would meet, and each would be assigned their responsibility for that day. That heavy crane operator worked with one of the gardeners. They didn't speak the same language, but that crane operator would set those big stones exactly where that
And
gardener told him. It was just an amazing.
Those boulders,
thing to
those
watch.
were sourced out of the Hoju River, correct?
That's from that area, yes.
Yep. And let's see.
And during the 2 weeks that they were constructing them, people of Stillwater, almost a steady stream of cars coming by, honking and waving and stopping, thanking them for what they were doing.
Yeah, they were happy. I mean, the men can speak, you know.
School children would
everybody
come
waving.
and bring cookies. School classes would come and ask, you know, tell us what you're doing. One man who had fought during the Second World War came by and said, you know, I have not liked the Japanese since the Second World War, but seeing what these guys are doing, I have to put that behind me and move on. Said, I've brought 30 tickets for the OSU football game on Saturday. I'd like to give them to them and whoever's going to take them to the game. As my way of saying, hey, I've accepted you as being really good people. So it just touched the lives of a lot of people in Stillwater.
Well, it sounds like it, and it sounds
You know,
like
people are changed. You know,
Yeah.
like this man, of course, doing the war because he went to the war. My family too, my uncle too, I would never come back. So I was a little girl, so I, you know, it hurt me when I come to someone said something like, I don't buy a Japanese product or something like that. Oh, hurt me, but you have to listen to our side too, but the war is just need to be out.
Well, and it sounds like that, you know, that idea of citizen diplomacy, that is very much alive and well within this organization.
Yeah.
And within
No, I
this.
love to stay here. I love to stay. I love people, Stillwater people. I don't know everybody, but most people, are you Kayo? Yes, well, you know, sometimes he mentioned in a Kameoka corner, so I have a student.
So we're, let's see, probably the late 90s, that was what we're about up to here. Trying to think. At what point, let's see. So, Mayor Taniguchi and Mayor Calvin Anthony, those were the two that were kind of at the beginning of all of this, but we have had several mayors since.
That's right.
Now, Taniguchi has been the mayor up until pretty
20 years.
recent, right?
Yes.
There have been 4 mayors involved. No,
Okay.
3 mayors.
Two now, because
Mayor Taniguchi, followed by Mayor Tanaka,
mhm.
followed by Mayor Kuriyama. So there's only been 3. There will be a 4th in November.
Tanaka. Who was the third?
Kuriyama.
Kuriyama?
Kuriyama.
He's just about to finish and doesn't plan to run for re-election.
And then, do I hear correctly that the fourth, the mayor that is coming up, he was one of the gardeners
That's
that
right.
installed?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
that-
I'm very happy about it because
Mayor,
That
Well,
he
we think it
Katsuragawa,
would be-
his name.
the mayor is
Katsuragawa.
Katsuragawa.
Yeah. If you don't know spell, I will tell you. I mean,
You
he's
spell it just like it sounds.
he's a very, very nice
And-
person.
I made sure. Oh, tell me about some of the annual activities that you all do here in Stillwater. I know that you all, that we talked about the Sukiyaki Dinner that I got to
Yeah.
join in on. That was excellent. But tell me about some of just the local events that the Stillwater Sister Cities Council hosts.
Oh, through the years, we we have the monthly meetings where we discuss activities that we need to be involved in, what's going on in Kameoka, if there's any exchanges coming up, or what we might do to strengthen a relationship, just whatever we can need to talk about. You mentioned the Sukiyaki Dinner. We've done that annually for several years. In recent years, we've done the pizza party, which we had
For students.
at Hideaway last week. Prior to that, for a number of years, we did an ice cream social at the West Watkins Center for the Japanese students, most of whom were in ELI at that time, so it was very convenient for them. But in recent years, we've done the pizza party instead. A few years ago, we did a hayride at a farm south of town. Stephanie and her husband owned the property. I went down and did the hayride and a wiener roast. Had a really nice time.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the activities that Sister Cities Council does is with students coming to OSU from Japan, or students coming to the high school or the junior high or the middle school. So you all, now would you say that a focus is on the students, or is that just...
A lot of the activities are focused on the students.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a potluck dinner every Christmas. And we've done that for a number of years.
And does the Sister Cities Council, do you all work with the exchange program with junior high, or actually I know, this, because we have the sister schools and we have the Sister Cities Council. Are those completely separate programs, or do you all very much work together and
Very much work together,
okay.
yes.
And
The sister schools came about because of the sister city relationship.
okay.
That's quite their sister school was.
And about how long has that been running?
I think it started in 1989, so it's...
Oh, it was almost as...
89?
Yes, no later than 89, I know.
It
Okay.
did. Well,
Yes.
89 it started.
Well, it was
We
about 4
was there
years.
in Kameoka to
It was about 4
bamboo
years
field.
after.
But
In
still they come
1990,
here.
there was a large group of students went to Kameoka.
1990? Oh, there, I was there. Yeah.
Yes. Because of the sister school relationship.
Because of that. And what else would you like to just tell me about the history and about you two, you and Kayo, about your involvement in Sister Cities Council, and also where you'd kind of like to see it go? You know, you've been a part of the past 30 years. Where would you like to see it go into the future? Do you have any hopes or expectations for its...
I know where he wants to go.
There's been a number of adult delegations go to Kameoka. And it's a wonderful experience. Well, I've been a part of a number of them, and it's a wonderful experience. And you make good friends, and come back re-energized to work harder in the program, etc. But when students go, particularly the ones that have gone from here have been middle school students. When they go, it can be a life-changing experience. It's not something that they come back and say, hey, I really had fun, and that's the end of it. It has changed a number of lives in very, very significant
Even the
ways.
college student, I want them to have a good experience to take home to their other student. So they may come back, they come back to OSU.
Have you seen a kind of a word of mouth as far as, somebody comes to OSU or comes to the Stillwater Public Schools, and then later on you find out, they've sent their younger sibling or they've sent a friend of theirs, are you seeing that sort of a...
Some of that, the one that Kyle mentioned,
Father and
the
son.
father
and son.
His son came in it must have been around 2000, maybe 2005. The mayor, city commissioner at that time, Bud Lacey, he later became the mayor, but he was city commissioner at that time, went as part of the delegation and took his son, who was sophomore, junior in high school, had never been out of the country. Enjoyed it a great deal. The next summer he says, Dad, let's you and I go back to Japan by ourselves. And they did. Had a wonderful time. Today that son lives in Japan, has been there for at least 5 years, probably more than 5 years, and is likely to continue to live there for maybe a very long time. He just loves it.
His mother wanted him to come home, time to come home quite a while ago. But Mom, I like Japan, so he stayed there still.
How old would you say he was on that first trip?
Oh, probably 15.
15?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a little boy.
So
now he's
adolescent, and now that trip changed his life.
There was an OOHRP student from Oklahoma City, Jason Good.
Jason Good, yes, he lived in Japan.
Studied on the OOHRP campus for about a year, then came back to OSU and graduated, went back to Kameoka. He still lives in Kameoka. That was in the early 90s. He still lives in Kameoka, is married to a Japanese girl. They have children.
Have a little boy.
He has bought a business recently and is doing very, very well. And those kind of things are not unusual.
And so 2005, that would be the 30th anniversary. No, I'm sorry.
No.
That would have been the 20th anniversary. 2010 would have been our 25th anniversary, which I believe is when the ocarina players came.
They came earlier than
Was that earlier than that?
They came in 2001.
Oh, that was way earlier than
Quite a
that.
bit earlier.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you tell me a little bit about that? Because that sounded like that was quite an event.
It was. If I were to list the 3 favorite programs or activities that the Sister City program have been involved in, one of them would be the Ocarina group, one would be the garden, and one would be OOHRP. The Ocarina group came on a very cold and icy January day in 2001. Not long after they arrived in Stillwater that evening, they closed Interstate 35 out from about 51 almost to Oklahoma City because of the ice. We had made arrangements with a number of families in Stillwater. The group was around 30, so we needed several host families to be their homestay families. Several of them called and said, we're not going to be able to do it because we've lost our power. 3 limbs down power lines down. I thought, oh, this is going to be an absolute disaster. These people have come all this way. This kind of weather, no one's going to show up. Well, when the performance started that evening in the auditorium at the West Watkins Center, seats about 400, and there were very nearly 400 there. It was just amazing. They played a little instrument called ocarina, which is a small, about 6-inch clay flute. And the one that each person used, they made themselves from clay that was excavated when they started building the foundation for what's called the Galleria Kameoka in Kameoka, a large convention center. Made those, came, performed for a full house that night on that cold, windy evening. And it was just really a wonderful event.
That sounds like that would have been.
Did you know Akarina
I saw.
at the Kameoka room?
Yes, in the
That
Kameoka
we
room.
donated because they brought her.
Okay.
I had a lot of
I have one
homestay.
right in there.
You have another one, but no, I saw the one that was in the Kameoka
Yes.
room, and Sylvia had explained a little bit about.
Yes,
But I wasn't sure if that was from the clay that was from Kameoka, or if that was just another. But that's one that was created from
clay.
Yes.
from
And
the
they
clay.
made it, there.
Well, are there any other? I'm sure I know we're probably missing things here, but actually there is one more thing that I wanted to be sure and ask you about, and that was your commendation by, let me make sure I get this right, being honored by the Foreign Ministry of Japan. Why don't you tell us?
Received that award in 2011, and it's a commendation that has my name on it. But Kayo has been from the very beginning very, very involved in all these. The commendation was given because of our involvement with the Japanese students here in Stillwater, as well as in Japan. I think probably that was initiated by someone in Kameoka, probably the mayor at that time.
What was the name of that award, or
This Foreign Minister's Commendation.
Foreign Ministry?
We have one in living room.
In living room?
framed them.
Okay, we'll get a picture of that before we head out. And that was that conferred here, or was that over in Japan?
It was here.
That was here.
At the OSU, we had about 300 people attending.
Okay.
The Consul General stationed in Houston came to
Yeah.
Stillwater to present it personally, so it was a
Yeah, that was a very nice evening.
nice honor.
Yeah. And please, are there any other things that you two would like to?
Well, you asked what we envisioned or hope for the future.
Yes. Yes.
One of those, I'm talking about the impact on children's lives, but we haven't had a youth exchange in recent years. We're going to Kameoka in November. I hope to be able to talk to someone in the educational system there, superintendent of schools or whoever, about the possibility of getting something up and going again that would allow students to go from Stillwater to Kameoka, or from Kameoka to Stillwater, because it impacts the students from Stillwater's life. It also impacts the life of the students in Kameoka
Yeah.
in the same way. So that I don't think we can do anything better than impact the lives of young people. So that's would be my main goal.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything to that,
Yes.
Kayo?
I've been doing this for 30 years. And I just had a surgery. And, my strength is not like used to. I can't help very much. But when they come, I will help, translate or whatever they need. I've been helping city sport to, try to do whatever they need, school or hospital or, general.
And you never know when you help someone, when that's going to go full circle and come back to you.
Yeah.
At some point in this relationship, there was a girl in Oklahoma City that needed some help. I don't even remember what help she needed, what Kayo did for her.
They called
We
from
were-
Oklahoma City governor's office.
We were at the airport in Osaka checking through customs or immigrations, the border plane, and someone had given us a gift, and a tiny little sword, part of a samurai set, about like so in that box. And one of the immigration people said, "You're going to have to open that box and let us look at that." And there was a girl working with him, said to her, "Aren't you Kayo Jones?"
Because my passport, they open it. Yes.
And,
So I thought that I'm not
she's-
supposed to bring those things. I thought, but gift, so I just brought.
She said, "Yes." The girl said, "You're good to go." Said, "You helped me in Oklahoma City. I'll return that favor right now."
I helped her but long ago. I don't
even
remember.
know when it was.
But
But
it's,
she told me, you helped me when I had program, I didn't remember, but so you don't have to open, you just go on. So
No.
that's nice to hear.
to know that you've been able to touch people and to
Yeah.
also to have been touched by so many people.
That's right. I think so. Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a wonderful interview. I thank you both for taking the time to do this with me.
You're very welcome.
I am
Thank you for doing
looking-
so.
I'm looking forward to the 30th anniversary celebration that's
Right.
coming up October 25th. And if there's any last little things that you would like to say to the camera. But otherwise.
Well, we're honored to be a part of this, so thank you for coming and talking with us.
Yes.
Thank you.